Chapter 9 of Three Little Kittens. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Rosie Roberts from California, United States. Three Little Kittens by Katharine Pyle. Chapter 9. There, he's gone away mad, meowed Fluffy. Now what shall we do? Do? Why, just what we have been doing, said Jazbury. He wasn't any good to us anyway. Yes, but I want to go home. Oh, I do want to go home, and we don't know the way. Why don't we? Guess I could find it just as well as Yowler. Oh, could you? Could you, Jazbury? Listen, Fluffy, said Jazbury. There was something Mother told me, and I'd forgotten all about it. I just remembered a little while ago. She said cats, and kittens, too, if they weren't too little, could always get home from any place if they just didn't worry about it and try to remember the way to go. All they have to do is to love their home and run along without thinking, and then they'll get there. I don't know what you mean, said Fluffy, but let's go anyway. Even if we don't get home, we can't be any more lost than we are now. But we will get there, declared Jazbury. Come on, we might as well go right now. All right, I'm ready. The two little kittens set out at once, and without any more talk about it, they trotted away through the green depths of the wood. And after a while the trees grew thinner, and then they came out of the wood upon a hot, sunny stretch of dusty road. We go this way, said Jazbury, and he set off down the road just as he knew exactly where he was going. Are you sure this is the right way? Asked Fluffy. Now, Fluffy, you mustn't ask me that, said Jazbury. I mustn't think about it, but just run along and we'll get there. Don't you be afraid. Fluffy said no more, but padded along after Jazbury. Jazbury never stopped or looked around. He just went running straight on down the dusty road. After they had gone for quite a distance, Fluffy heard a noise behind them, a thudding sound, and with it a sound of rumbling and rolling. He looked around, and there behind them came a great, enormous horse and a buggy, with two ladies driving in it. Jazbury, he meowed softly, there's something coming. Jazbury stopped and looked round. Then he ran over to the side of the road and crouched down. Come over here till they get past, Fluffy, he said. Fluffy trotted over and crouched down beside him. Nearer and nearer came the horse and buggy, the horse thudding along and the buggy rumbling after it. Just as the buggy came to where the kittens were, one of the ladies cried out, "Oh, Sarah, look there, look at those kittens." The buggy stopped, and the two ladies leaned forward, staring at Jazbury and Fluffy. "How do you suppose they ever got here?" asked the lady. "I don't know," answered her companion. "I suppose someone wanted to get rid of them and dropped them here. Isn't that wicked? What shall we do about it?" The talking went on. The kittens could hear the voices, one soft and gentle, the other quick and decided. "Let's get down among the weeds, Fluffy," whispered Jazbury. "Then we can creep away." The kittens ran, crouching, down into a dry gutter beside the road. There they were almost hidden by the dusty weeds. "Oh, Sarah, they're running away!" cried the soft-voiced lady. "I'll catch them," said the other. She hastily clambered down from the buggy and ran over to the side of the road and parted the weeds. When the kittens looked up, they could see her big face above them, looking down at them. Then her hands came down through the weeds and caught them by the napes of their neck. One hand caught Jazbury and the other hand caught Fluffy. The hands lifted them out of the weeds and up into the air. The kittens were very much frightened. Fluffy hung quietly, with his legs and tail curled up, and his head on one side, but Jazbury fought and struggled, and tried to scratch the hand that had held him. "Did you ever see such a wild cat?" the lady called to her friend, as she carried the kittens back to the buggy. "Here, let's put them in a bag," cried the other lady. She dived under the seat of the buggy and got out a big brown bag and held it out with the mouth open, ready for the kittens to be dropped into it. A moment later, and Fluffy and Jazbury found themselves in the bag, with the mouth of it tied tight, so that they could not possibly get out. The bag with them in it was laid in the back part of the buggy, and then the rumbling and thudding began again as the buggy drove on. The kittens were jolted and shaken about. "Oh, Jazbury," meowed Fluffy, "what do you suppose they're going to do with us?" "I don't know. We'll have to try to get out." Jazbury began to tear and bite at the loose threads of the bag, but he could not make even the least little hole in the bagging. After a while he gave it up and began to meow loudly. "Meow, meow," he cried. "Meow, meow, meow," cried Fluffy. The buggy rumbled and jolted. The kittens meowed and meowed. Now and then they stopped and listened. Then they would meow again louder than ever. After a while the buggy stopped, and the bag with the kittens in it was lifted out and carried into the house. The bag was opened again, and the two big faces looked in on them. "Did you ever see anything as dirty as the black one?" said the lady who caught them. "I hated to touch him. I know one thing. If I'm going to keep him, the first thing I'm going to do is to give him a good scrubbing with tar soap." "Oh, Sarah," cried the other, "you oughtn't to wash cats. You'll make him sick. Get the white one out for me, won't you? I'm afraid to put my hand in. I'm afraid the black one will scratch me." Miss Sarah put her hand down in the bag and lifted Fluffy out and gave him to her companion. "Isn't he too sweet?" cried that lady. "He doesn't look a bit dirty, either. I'm going to take him right over home and give him something to eat. I expect he's hungry." After she had gone, Miss Sarah closed the bag and carried it a while and dumped it down again. "Bring me a basin of water in the shed, Hannah, and the tar soap from up in the bathroom closet." Jazbury did not know what the words meant, but they frightened him. A little later the bag was untied again and turned upside down, and Jazbury was shaken out of it, trembling and frightened. He looked about him. He was in a shed. Miss Sarah was there, and another woman with a checked apron on. "Poor little thing, he looks scared to death," said the woman with the checked apron. "I know," said Miss Sarah. "I just hate to wash him, but I can't take him into the house till he's clean." Then a terrible thing happened to Jazbury. Miss Sarah stooped and picked him up, and before he could catch his breath she had put him in a basin of water. He spit and meowed and fought, but she held him there. She splashed water over him, and she rubbed him with soap. She rubbed the soap suds in around his ears and over his forehead, and even down his little black nose. She soaped his legs and his body and his tail. Then she washed the soap suds off. Last of all she wrapped him in a towel and rubbed and rubbed and rubbed him. By that time Jazbury was too miserable to fight. He only shivered and shook and meowed pitifully now and then. "There," said Miss Sarah at last. "That's about as dry as I can get you. You poor little thing, you shall have a good meal to comfort you." She carried Jazbury into the house, and his fur was so clean that it fairly shone and glistened like black satin. "You're a real beauty," said Miss Sarah, "and I never would have guessed it when I picked you up in the road." That's the way Jazbury began life in his new home. It was a very pleasant home except for one thing. Miss Sarah would wash him every now and then. He had plenty to eat and drink. There were soft chairs and sunny spots to sleep in. And as soon as he was used to the place, and Miss Sarah thought he would not run away, he was allowed to go out of doors whenever he wanted to. The first day he was allowed to go out he found there was a flower garden in front of the house. It was a fine place to play. Paths wound about among the flower beds. Bees buzzed busily from bloom to bloom, and bright butterflies floated about overhead. Jazbury examined it all over. There was a paling fence between it and the garden next door. When Jazbury came near this fence he saw a little furry white face peering through at him between the paling. It was Fluffy. "Oh, Jazbury," he called joyfully. "I was watching for you. I hoped you'd come out soon." "Why, did you know I lived here?" "Yes, the lady that carried me away that day just took me in next door. I knew our yards were next to each other." "Come on over," said Jazbury. Fluffy squeezed through between the palings, and the two little kittens greeted each other joyfully. They rubbed noses and purred and purred. After that they began to play. They ran races along the paths and tried to catch the butterflies, and had a fine time together. At lunchtime Fluffy had to go home, but he and Jazbury agreed to meet out in the garden every single day, unless it rained, and play together just as they used to do. It made Jazbury very happy to know he was to have his little friend living so near him. End of chapter 9.